Let me get the chat up. There we go. All right, so I guess my first question would be, were you surprised to hear that Black Butler was getting more anime after, what was it, 7 years?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yes. Very
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah.
Delighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I almost didn't believe it because I feel like there have been other shows that would be like rumored, like, oh, they might come back, and then
Right.
nothing would ever come of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like with this one, I just sort of was like holding my breath of like,
Yeah.
is it really gonna happen? Are they gonna ask us to come back?
Yeah.
It's funny. I've always felt like we weren't done with Black Butler. Like it's never felt over for me. Somehow I was like, it'll come back in a few years. It's just that kind of show. I'm sure it will. I don't know. I rarely feel that way about anything because I'm usually very pessimistic about anything coming back. I'm an actor, you have to be. But
Yeah.
that one I was like, nah, it'll come back. And then I'd kind of forgotten that I thought that way. So when it came back, a bunch of friends told me that they found out about it and they were sending me the article because I'm not online very often, and I thought they were pranking me, and I was like, "Good one, guys, good one." And then it sunk in, and I was like, I was texting Brina, and I was like, Do you think is it happening? This is happening. I think it's
Yeah.
happening. Oh my
Yeah.
God, it's happening. And they were like, "Oh, are they going to ask us to come back? We don't. I mean, it's been so long. You never know. Things
Yeah.
change."
And then we had to wait a year to get that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
answer.
yeah.
We're in this holding pattern because we're actors. We're always the last one to know.
Yep.
Yeah. I
So
just
it
can't
was.
imagine the series without your guys' voice because it's so iconic. Like,
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah.
you are nailing this interview. I just want you to know.
Oh, thanks. Do you guys read the manga by chance, or do you kind of like take it as it comes to you?
This is actually the first time for public school arc. It's the first time that I actually did read the manga beforehand. Because in the past, it was so long ago, we weren't doing the simuldub. And so I could watch the whole series before we dubbed it. But we don't get to do that anymore.
Right.
And because it's not animated yet. So I made the decision to read the manga, and I'm glad that I did because I actually really loved it and I want to continue with it.
Yeah,
Are you caught up with the series, or?
No, I'm not. I've only
Okay.
I stopped at the end of the public school arc because I didn't.
Okay. That was gonna be my next question, is if you had read ahead, like what are you most excited about? Like, because I'm going into this assuming that they're not gonna stop here, if that makes sense. I really like Black
it'd
Butler.
be great
I
if they
want it to
didn't.
be.
Yeah, we're all about it.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
actors, we would love continual work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't read the manga though for that very reason. Like Brina kind of has to prepare because of the nature of CL. CL is very proactive, and so CL needs an idea of what's going on. And Sebastian is more like the type to kind of stand back in the background and smirk and judge. Just
Right.
super fun and alarmingly easy for me to play. But I don't, I don't. I notice I work better when I don't have a lot of information, except just the bare bones, because I want to react to things as they unfold, especially if I'm playing a more observant role, the way
Right.
Sebastian is, at least as far as I'm concerned. So I don't, but it's definitely one of those things like once we are done, I will go back and read the manga. Like that's what I do. I
Right.
tend to read everything after we're done just to kind of relive it. But I don't like having too much information because I'm an overthinker and I know I'm just gonna give myself like boxes to
That's
check,
really
which
great. I
just
think
get in
you
the way,
described
you
it.
know?
I think you described
Yeah.
it perfect because CL is very uh calculative,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
Sebastian's usually like, okay.
Yeah,
Like, you want to
exactly.
do
Yeah,
this?
Sebastian's
Sure,
like,
I'll
"Ooh,
do
let's
that.
watch and see what happens here."
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Do
I don't
you,
have to do nearly as much homework as Brina does, and it's pretty
oh
good.
yeah. Do you get a sense that maybe Sebastian is more than just like a butler? Like I feel like when I watch it, like I get a little sense of like he has some kind of like paternal instincts towards CL.
It's a complicated question. I have
Yeah.
always thought of Sebastian as a demon, and being a demon, we wouldn't necessarily comprehend his true form, as it were. So what we're seeing is a persona that he wears because it's the job. It's like
Yeah.
a cosplay.
Yeah.
But in his case, it's like camouflage because he's hunting to eat. Like ultimately, his goal is to eat a soul, and that's what he does. And so but I think he crafts that persona based on what he knows CL needs. So, insofar as
Make it
he's a
like more
reactive
tasty
character,
or
Well, I think it's just because part of it. I mean, I say all the time he loves to play with his food, but
Yeah,
and like he wants a soul that's been through some things, because it gives it, value to him for whatever ineffable demonic reason. So that's why he's willing to step back and be like, oh, let's see how far Ciel goes down this path, because he is such an interesting character that will do all sort and can always kind of rise to whatever occasion. And it's really so I all of which is to say, like, I don't know what Sebastian's or I don't think we're allowed to know what Sebastian's real personality is, apart from just his function as I'm this thing that wants to eat this soul, and anything that I appear as is just a function of that goal.
got you. Yeah,
um so he's dressed in the vestments, if you like, of Ciel's unconscious. He becomes a sort of father figure. That's not to say that he may not kind of lose himself in the role the more impressed he becomes with
right.
Ciel's ability to handle things. And that seems to be the case. I certainly like to play it like there's just a little bit like, hey, this being a butler for this kid is actually kind of fun. I may do
Yeah,
this for a bit. He
yeah,
seems to enjoy it more than just for its own sake.
yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like
Yeah.
he likes to watch him wiggle. Like he puts him in all these positions and he's like, I'm just gonna watch you squirm for a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then I'll help you. Yeah,
Yeah. And then
yeah,
I think he really likes him to succeed as well. So it's it's a complicated
yeah,
complicated perspective on CL, which I think is really fascinating to play with.
yeah. Do you guys think that the characters, like how you play them now compared to how you played them in the beginning, do you think that they've changed over the series?
I don't know that, I mean, public school arc in particular, CL has to be played very differently because his tactics have to be so different in the school setting. And coming up with that kind of fake, sweet CL voice
Yeah,
was quite a challenge. Um, but I will say, with the exception of that, I don't know that my approach to him has necessarily changed all that much. My own personal perception of him has changed. Because when I first started the role, I felt very akin to him. Like I felt I really empathized with CL's position, and I felt like I really connected to him. And I had that, like his line about like never letting go of his hatred because it's who he is and it's what makes him who he is. I remember
Mm.
believing that for myself. And then I went to therapy. And and then eventually, became a mother. And now whenever I see CL, I just, he breaks my heart. Like, I mean,
yeah,
he has suffered so much and he has so much grief and trauma that he doesn't know how to process other than just shoving everything down, including his own joy or
right,
any sort of positive feeling. So it's like, I I feel for him rather than feel with him, I guess, a little bit
right.
Mhm.
now,
Mhm.
just being more of an adult now.
Yeah. And you do see that a lot more now with his reactions toward like Lisbeth, his fiance and stuff. Like
Yeah.
he lets it slip sometimes, which is neat to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
what do you guys think it takes to be one hell of a butler?
A demonic presence.
That helps. That helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have to be
Hmm.
very capable. Like you have to be able to like do all kinds of crazy things on with zero notice. Like you have to be able
Yeah.
to take over drudge duties
Yeah. Gotta be
between
real
grading papers.
multi-talented.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of butler school.
I
It
think
should
there
be.
literally
It's
used
like a
to be,
vocational
right?
school for
Yeah.
demons that Sebastian had to go to, or I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be fun to explore.
No, he was just that good. Like he was just like,
Oh my God, if we could do like a flashback to Sebastian in school
yeah,
for demon butlering.
I cannot imagine Sebastian not just coming prepackaged with all his skills.
right.
Like
Yeah.
I cannot envision him struggling to master anything.
I don't think I can see him as like a child that grew up or like he was just
No, he's a
Yeah.
demon. He's a
yeah,
demon.
Yeah.
He's beyond humans. So he's just kind of like, oh, that's fun. You humans do this thing called growth. What's that about?
Interesting.
I just come fully formed like this. I'm perfect.
Yeah. Do you think Ciel's ever gonna get taller?
You know, I really don't know. It's a great question. He's pretty tiny.
I mean, on the Victorian diet, probably not.
Probably not.
There's all kinds of additives in those foods that are going to stunt growth.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's
He likes
true.
It was a very shady time in food production.
Yeah, very dangerous time in food
Very
production.
dangerous. Like, let's add some arsenic to it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, well, he
Yeah.
owns what, a candy company, right? Phantomhive.
A toy company. It's
Oh,
candies and toys, right?
Candies and toys, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably used to all the additives.
Yeah.
I've always felt that like Ciel has such willpower that he's just willed himself to stay small.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think his presence makes more of an impact when you're like, that's coming out of a child?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to me. And you
Our
guys,
pleasure.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
Yeah, our
amazing.
pleasure.
Like,
Thank
I
you.
started watching the show in 2014, and it was the English dub that really got me into it.
Oh, that's
Aw,
sweet of you to
thank
say. Thank
you.
you.
That's
Thank
very
you.
kind. That's what a
All right.
wonderful thing to hear. Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.